Hello there. Your key card this month is the orphan child, which I'm going to put here on position 7. I'll explain that in a moment, exactly how that happens on this 7 position spread of having a look at the archetypes, but I'll get to that in a moment. My name's Heidi Sawyer, author of Highly Intuitive People, and what I'm about to give you is your prediction for the month ahead. That's February 2016. So how do I look at that? Well, I look at that in terms of the tree of life and how this is positioned through what's called the consciousness line. I look at it from the position of intuitive sensitive people, which is what you will find that you are, or you certainly know that you are. So I have a look at this as from the group perspective, and you will find that certain areas really absolutely make sense to you in how you move yourself forward this month, this coming month. Stay to the end to hear what I also have coming up for the month moving forward. But here is the lightning view of what you can expect from February 2016 moving forward. So in position 1, what do we have? Well, this is you in your everyday world. So what we have in this position this month is the slave. I use the archetypes, which is a way of looking at how you can relate to your inner world and how that relates to what happens in your outer physical world. So we have the slave in position 1. So what does that mean? The slave in position 1 means what's happening in your outer world. So this month moving forward, at the moment you're feeling a little bit as though you are having to work to other people's agendas, or you've got an awful lot on. So you've got so much on that it feels that life is taken over. So it feels to you that either that other people are placing extra pressures on you in your external world, or you're starting to feel really frustrated by responsibility. Okay, but some of that is counteracted by other areas here. So it's not as though it's taking over completely, but it is something that's impacting your life. Here in position 2, this is your connection between your outer world, what's presented to your outer world, and what is your inner world. Okay, so in position 2, you have the hero/heroine. So at the moment, you will find in February that you have a really good connection between your subconscious and your physical world. So even though you feel really quite pressured by the outside world, you'll find that you have ways and means of reducing that pressure, whereas other people who are perhaps not quite as sensitive or aware of their inner world, and certainly how their subconscious relates to their external world, will find that this kind of feeling that external pressures are happening is something that's taken over their life. But for you, you'll feel that it's something that you can feel a lot more in control of. Okay, so what's happening in your subconscious? Subconscious world is how your inner world then translates to your outer world. Okay, so how your deeper thinking impacts what happens in your real world. So what we have here is the prince. So what you're dealing with this month moving forward is anything that's been hidden from you. Okay, so anything that has been presented to you in really quite a charming way, but hasn't lived up to expectations. So that may well be one of the reasons why you're feeling slightly frustrated in your external world. But you'll find that you've got this hero/heroine in the way there. It's easier for you to interpret that. So rather than feel really quite upset or overwhelmed by it, it's much more in your power to actually utilize that and think, actually, I may have been slightly hoodwinked or kind of given a false impression, but no one's going to catch me out again. But it's not from a victim perspective, it's much more of an observation on your part. As we move into this area here, which is number 4, which is your deeper connection into your inner world of how you really begin to see things. So what is the focus here? So this is around the soul's kind of focus. So what have you got here? You've got the healer. So this month moving forward, Absolutely, this is about cleansing, this is about clearing, this is about solving. So anything that's been hanging around for a long time at a deeper level, rather than you dealing with it on an everyday practical level, this means that you're actually dealing with things properly in a way that finishes them off. So you will find that this month coming forward that you find that much easier to do. Number 5 here, which is your connection between will and love. This is your connection and how things then are created in your everyday world. So this is looking at it from the perspective of your inner world creates your outer world. Okay, so what's there? What is the connector at the moment for the month moving forward? You have the servant. So what does that mean? That means you starting to think about and really become focused on what you find engaging in life. So rather than feel that you're doing something just for the sake of it or doing a job just because it pays a salary, that you're starting to really begin to think about something that feels more of meaning, so that work has to feel like it means something rather than that it feels like an empty shell. So anything that's to do with your work into the external world. So that can mean a job, that can mean you volunteering for something, that can mean you assisting with something, but feeling that there is connection and meaning rather than doing things in life for no particular reason. It's got to have some depth to it. So this month you will see the importance of depth. Okay, remember that I did say that this one at the top here is a really important one and how that connects. So I will explain that in a moment. What do you have here? Well, you've got the angel in the area of relationships. Okay, so this really is under here is how you connect with other people, and also some of the things that show in life as a little bit of a challenge. So in this particular area, sort of around relationships, you've got the angel, which is something that's really positive. So this again is about you affirming into your everyday world what is important to you, and the pressures of what's happening in your external world is starting to get you to really think more deeply, okay, about what is important, rather than just finding life is leading you. You'll start to feel that it's important to you to lead life, okay, and reducing that level of what has previously been maybe a little bit frustrating around that. It's starting to ease up on that frustration because you're getting much more self-aware. And let's face it, if you're still listening to me, you're going to be a lot more self-aware than the average person, because you're going to understand what on earth I'm talking about. So what we have here in the top position, which is, I'm not saying it's top position as in the best position, but this is in terms of the consciousness line, this is your ability to see the big picture. Okay, so this is your bird's eye view. So what is that? What is the general theme that's overriding all of this, and why is this card particularly important? Well, because it's in your position of personal power, so it seems like quite a heavy energy to be in that position. So why is it there, and what's its relevance for the month moving forward? Well, it's the orphan child. Okay, so what we're looking at is at a deeper level. So if you really want to cut to the chase and you really want to figure out what it is that you need to focus on this month moving forward, it is absolutely, in terms of inner world focus, inner world development, is the part of your internal focus that feels worried about, this is really to do with abandonment, but rather than feeling that you're going to be abandoned or left, but it's that deep fear of actually focusing on what are you really frightened of. Okay, so if you really boil it down to what are you actually frightened of in this world, you'll find that it's the source of it this month moving forward, or this is the focused particular area of that, is the part of you that fears abandonment. Now that can, obviously, because it's the child energy, can be taken back to early foundational examples that may be things that you view now as almost comical. You think, oh, well, I was left in a shopping centre once, or I was forgotten for this, and you may think that it's funny now as an adult, but as a child, self, you were probably really quite frightened at the time, etc. So it's about finding those original fears and those original fears about being left and acknowledging those and acknowledging them here, particularly between your subconscious and your everyday world, to really find that they find their way out, so that absolutely it builds your confidence, it builds your ability to feel comfortable with propelling your life forward. And it's kind of the foundation, it's beginning for the year ahead. This is a really good time to be having these things come up, to be addressed, to be solved, especially as we're in a 9-year itself. So that means it's about finishing old things before new beginnings. And this month ahead is an absolutely really strong indication of that. So I would look at this as an exceptionally positive time, but just be aware of that, as in look to the parts of you that the real fears, and that you'll find that those real fears are around something in terms of being left behind. Okay, so I hope you found this session useful. What do I have for the month ahead? Well, if you'd like this, and you've certainly like this as a foundation of having a look at something, then you're going to love this month's theme that I have, which is looking at the tree of life and the foundations of Kabbalah, which is how this all works. That's the main theme. I'll be sending out lots of different articles, bits and pieces, videos, etc., that are free for you to view and that you'll enjoy. I also have, for the month coming ahead, as we come into February, the release of Inspire 2016. So look out for those, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now. How you move yourself forward this coming month. Stay to the end to hear what I also have coming up for the month moving forward. But here is the lightning view of what you can expect from February 2016 moving forward. So in position, author of Highly Intuitive People, and what I'm about to give you is your prediction for the month ahead. That's February 2016. So how do I look at that? Well, I look at that in terms of the tree of life and how this is positioned through what's called the consciousness line. I look at it, one, what do we have? Well, this is you in your everyday world. So what we have in this position this month is the slave. I use the archetypes, which is a way of looking at how you can relate to it from the position of intuitive, sensitive people, which is what you will find that you are, or you certainly know that you are. So I have a look at this as from the group perspective, and you will find that certain areas really absolutely make sense to you. Hello there, your key card this month is the Orphan Child, which I'm going to put here on position 7. I'll explain that in a moment, exactly how that happens on this 7 position spread of having a look at the archetypes, but I'll get to that in a moment. My name's Heidi Sawyer.